Few announcements. If you have a cell phone or pager, please put it on mute or turn it off so we don't have a cell phone or pager going off during the meeting. If you disagree with what this commission approves or does not approve, there are appeal cards over here to my right on the railing, and there are also speaker cards over there if you wish to speak on any of the items on our agenda. Public speaking will be 10 minutes on each side of the issue with 5 minutes for rebuttal. And if after your case is heard, please exit the building. Don't stay inside and discuss, and do not stay out in the lobby because all the sound comes back in this area. Ms. Casabon, will you lead us in prayer?
Heavenly Father, we thank you for allowing us to come out today. Thank you for this beautiful weather and our spring. Lead and guide us to make the right decisions on these cases. In Jesus' name, amen.
Mr. Willett. All right, next item on our agenda is approval of the minutes of the March 5th meeting. Those were sent out separate from the packets. Each commissioner should have received a copy of them, and hopefully you've had time to review them.
Make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve.
Okay.
Second. Dale, you got any comments?
I was going to go ahead and make the motion to approve,
Okay.
but we get it from all over.
Well, apparently they're right then, huh?
I went through it and compared my notes from last month, and it seemed close enough. I saw a couple of little minor things, but it's not worth
Bill?
talking about.
I think we have a significant amount of confusion on the amendment to the ordinance. We need to do something with that. If the minutes are correct, then I don't think we voted correctly. If we voted correctly, then the minutes aren't correct, so I think we need to figure out what we need to do.
Okay, so we need to, let
Would you like
Mr.
to
Hand take a
clarify
look at
that for
them, or-
me?
Pardon?
Clarify that for me, please.
Well, if you-
I know we amended the definition. And we needed to vote on the amendment and then vote on the definition. According to the minutes, we voted once, so that's not right. And then it looks like we made a motion to continue discussion. And while I may have been the one to do that, I don't know whether I did or not, but that's not germane. I'm just not sure where that took us. We need to clean up what we did. And that maybe we need to re-vote on that, to vote on the amendment and then vote on the definition as amended. But we didn't do both.
Yeah, I'd ask
I'll
Leslie.
withdraw my, withdraw my motion, but I do feel that we need to review the tapes and maybe
Yeah,
let
Leslie
her.
did-
I don't think it has anything to do with us voting tonight and going
No.
back over this, but let her look at the tapes, and if we have to, and, to transcribe it as we said it and did it.
Okay, all right. Bug?
Well, I had the same question, and excuse me, and I asked Leslie about it a while ago. If you read the minutes, the last line, and it said Matthews made a motion and David second to continue discussion, but there's no
Right.
notation as to whether or not it was voted on, yes or no.
Yeah, we just need to go back and I
Clean
know
it up.
Leslie's
Yes, on
already
that.
looked at the tape and put down what happened at the meeting, but if we need to do something to correct what we did, then we need to do that. But we can't approve the minutes
Can we
tonight.
just, we're going to table the approval of the minutes?
I think we need to do that.
Postpone till next month.
Is the council going to get this Thursday night?
What?
The amendment? The new definition?
There was an appeal filed, so, of the amendment, what was actually adopted at the commission level, and it's coming up for review this Thursday night.
Well, maybe it shouldn't.
Between now and then, I will go back and try to review the tape to make sure that we have down accurately and that it should be appearing, that it was in a posture to be appealed.
Okay,
Because
because,
if not, then the appeal, my recommendation would be for the council not to take action on the appeal and postpone that action to give this commission time, if it wasn't correctly voted on, to come back here for a correct vote.
that's good. I just want to
Okay.
make sure they didn't vote on it and.
In the
We should-
event
no.
that it was voted on and just didn't transcribe into our minute,
Right.
what we were given.
It was
Will
quite
we
confusing,
proceed?
and I think everybody will agree that it was quite confusing, and the reason Mr. Hand had
Uh,
gone back and reviewed the amendments and everything and read them. But we just need to be sure that we dot our i's, cross our t's, and get it right, so.
Make a motion to postpone the approval of the minutes for the next
Motion by
meeting.
Mr. Matthews to postpone. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Willie. Please vote. Motion carries. All right, any cases that are tabled tonight? Do you have any?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you.
We have one withdrawn.
All right. First item on the agenda was, has been withdrawn, is that correct? Okay, that's zoning case 13-02-011. This has been withdrawn by the petitioner, correct? Okay, we need to take no action on it, right? All right, item 2, zoning case 13-03-012. Existing zoning is A2 Suburban District, proposed zoning is A2 Suburban District, and mobile home, manufactured housing overlay, acres is 1.66. The petitioner is Ashonda Mitchell, owner is Ashonda Mitchell, located at parcels located on the south side of Low Davis Road, east of United Church Road, being 21288 Low Davis Road, Covington, Ward 3, District 6. This was postponed from the March 5th meeting. Staff?
The 2025 Future Land Use Plan shows the area to be developed with residential uses, including mobile homes. The area is developed with a mix of mobile homes, stick-built homes, and undeveloped land. There are approximately 8 mobile homes in close proximity to the site. Staff has no objection to the request and recommends approval.
Thank you. Anyone in the audience wish to speak on this particular case? I'll close the floor to the public, bring it back to the commission. Any commissioners have any discussion? Martha?
Is the petitioner present? Okay, come on up and state your name. Yes, I have no objection. There is mobile homes in that area. I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay. Do we have a second? We have a second. Any further discussion? Bill?
No, the only question I have is, what is this area of possible encroachment? Where you intend to put the trailer?
It's actually 1.99 acres, 97 acres, and I intend to put it on, it's my private owned land.
Yeah, but I mean, how far back off of Low Davis?
It's right off the street, but it's gonna be further back off the road, probably about a half an acre off the road.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Please vote.
Well, I've got one quick
Excuse
question.
me, Mr. Matthews,
How many acres is this?
1.6.
It's 1.97 acres. Ms. Helen, did you change
Okay,
that?
because one place here on the agenda, it says 1.66, and the staff report, it says 1.97.
We re-advertised the case. The 1.97 is correct.
The 1.97 is correct, okay.
Staff, are you saying that the parcel is actually the one with 130 feet rather than 125 on Low Davis?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item 3, zoning case 13-04-016. The existing zoning is A1A Suburban District. The proposed is A2 Suburban District. It's 5.31 acres. Petitioner is Robert and Melissa O'Hara. Owner is Robert and Melissa O'Hara. Parcel located on the east side of Atwood Road, west of Lee Road, being 19423 Atwood Road, Covington, Louisiana. Ward 2, District 2. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan calls for residential and agricultural uses in the area. The surrounding area is mainly residential homes on large parcels. Staff sees no compelling reason to increase the density in the area and recommends the request be denied.
Thank you. Anyone in the audience wish to speak on this? Come forward and state your name, please. You'll need to fill out a speaker card also, but you can do that after you speak.
Okay. My name is Robert O'Hara. I own the property on Atwood. When I bought the property 12 years ago, it was zoned A1A, which meant, I could have one single-family residence per 1 acre, I believe it was, with the intention of moving my parents and my wife's parents over here eventually, not knowing, depending on their health, when that would be. My parents moved over. We put them on the back of the property, and after Katrina, and it turned now that it's time for my wife's parents to be moved over. I went to go through the process of getting everything worked out, and found that they changed the zoning from A1A, I believe it was, to A2, and was told that I had to go through the process of.
Well, it's still A1A right now, and what staff is recommending, and I guess in discussion with you, is to go to A2.
Which means I could put a
Another
house
house
per
on it.
acre? One house per acre?
Yes.
Yes. I had them flipped around. I'm not sure exactly, A1, A2. I'm not sure exactly which one's which.
Okay.
But that's the gist of it, That was
Okay.
our intention, to have my wife's mother move over
Okay, all
as
right.
well. So what's the process from here that the staff?
Well, let us, see if there's anyone that wishes to speak against, and then I'll close the floor, bring it back to the commission here, and they will probably want to ask you some questions.
Okay, so I'll fill out this paperwork here?
Yeah, just,
We're not finished yet. I gotta ask you some questions.
Okay, Martha?
How close to you, is the cemetery, is this?
Yes, ma'am, my
You're
property's.
right next to the,
Yes, ma'am.
the Barker Cemetery.
Yes, ma'am.
The old Dowden property, part of that,
Yes, ma'am.
okay. And that we
I'm
do.
south of the cemetery.
South of that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yes, this particular area does have the smaller lots and the smaller houses, and because the families are breaking them up to give to their children, and in this case, to their grandparents and stuff, that the A1A, you want to, it's 5 acres, and you
Five-
want, but.
5.31, yes, ma'am.
How much, is that your whole piece
Yes,
now?
ma'am.
And your house is on it, and the other parent's house is on it, and you just want to put another parent on
It's,
it?
my mother actually lives in a trailer, and
Okay.
yes, ma'am, it's on there. The intention is, obviously, we don't live forever.
Right. What I'm just saying is, it's not a blank sheet that you're going to try to make 5 lots
No,
out,
no,
5
ma'am.
1-acre lots. You're already living there,
Yes,
is
ma'am.
what I'm saying.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's been, to me, the spirit of, this is a rural area. As we said, in this area, this is all that we have to give our kids, is we have 5 acres, 10 acres. In this case, he's trying to take care of his parents. I know where this is, and we do have smaller lots and trailers and things particular in that area, and it's right down from, not too far from, a large, cemetery that, I'll make a motion to approve. Oh, he asked, was there anybody here, right?
Yeah, I
There,
didn't-
nobody, I
didn't
think
see-
he asked, was there
We
opposition?
didn't ask.
I missed.
He said, was there
asking.
anybody
Okay.
else?
All right. Was there anyone in the audience that wished to speak against? Okay, there's no one here. Martha, you made a motion to approve.
Mm-hmm.
Any second?
I'll second, but I have a question also.
Okay, second by Mr. Willie. I'm gonna go to Pug first.
Okay.
All right, the question I have is, with 5.31 acres, does it have to be rezoned to A2 to accommodate three dwellings?
From
Yes,
what I
that's-
understand, it's, what the zoning now is every 3.5 acres, a house per 3.5 acres. Now, I don't know how a trailer is as opposed to a house.
That's why I was directing my
Oh.
question to Helen.
Okay,
Excuse me.
Miss Helen?
Yes, the A1A is maximum of one house per 3 acres. So
Okay,
in
it's one
order
per
for him
three.
to go to one house per 1 acre, then he has to, he made the request to rezone to A2.
Okay, Mr. Willie?
Well, Mr. O'Hara, so what I'm hearing is you're looking to have 3 dwellings on this 1 5-acre piece of property.
Yes, sir.
Okay, next question. Are they going to be concentrated on one end, or are they going to be evenly distributed throughout the property?
Yes, sir.
Because I don't see no different lot designations. You're just going, it's just a blanket rezoning.
Well, my property's oblong, it goes
I
from
see it's odd shaped.
Atwood to Lee Road. My house is on the front on Atwood. My parents' trailer is midway. You see where the little jut is, where the property kind of like snakes off for I guess it's the right-of-way deal right there. Their trailer's here, and we were gonna put the other trailer closer to Lee Road, just spread them out like that.
So is any of these dwellings going to access Lee Road as well?
If it's,
Or so you got a Atwood Road address?
if it's a problem, we could access it through Atwood, but, I was thinking about
Looking to build where? Back here somewhere. So the house is going to be pretty much distributed evenly across the property?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Matthews?
The residence you're planning on adding, it's another trailer?
It's hard to say as far as their financing goes, either a modular home or a trailer, yes, sir.
Okay. Helen, do we have a modular home overlay on this piece of property?
I was just about to pull up the map to make sure.
If not, they have another problem.
If I'm not mistaken, I think it's got a trailer overlay, obviously, on it.
Well, just because it has a trailer doesn't mean it has a trailer
Trailer
overlay.
overlay, I mean, is what I was.
While Helen's looking that up, I have a question. Are you going to subdivide this property, or is it going to still be under one owner?
No, sir, I'm just gonna be on the one.
Thank you.
Barney?
Raise another question. Since it's going to be just one parcel, and he's going to have 3 dwellings, his access, he would have to have no more than 2 accesses off of one private road there, wouldn't he? He'd have to access off of Lee Road.
I don't think he's trying to subdivide.
Well, he's not, but you're going to have 3 dwellings in one parcel. You able to do that off of one? But he's not subdivided?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is north of Barker's Corner?
Yes, ma'am. Just north of Walker's Corner.
Bill, while she's looking that up, Dale, you got something you want to ask?
No, basically, it's the same thing about
Okay.
the trailers.
Okay. I can't find it. I thought it was kind of close to it.
Computers are supposed to make things faster, Helen.
She doesn't control the server, though.
Mr. Chair, while she's looking that up, I suspect that we could vote, if necessary, on what's been requested. The concern is, if it doesn't have the manufacturer housing overlay,
Right.
you're not going to be able to do what you're intending to do.
Right. I'm under the
That's another
impression-
meeting.
I'm under the impression that it does have a trailer overlay, the property, but, I mean, obviously you have to go through the motions.
Would it be, if it does not?
Yes, yes, it does have a
It
mobile
does.
home overlay. yes.
Okay, that answers.
Sorry to
takes
keep you
care of the
waiting.
problem.
All right. All right, that answered the questions on this end. Martha?
Yes?
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve zoning case 13-04-016. Please vote. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you get the speaker card? Okay, all right, item 4, zoning case 13-04-017, existing zonings A1 Suburban District, proposed zonings A2 Suburban District, and a manufactured housing overlay. It's 3.285 acres. This comes to us by Parish Council motion of 2/17/2013, parcel located on the southeast corner of Sharp Chapel Road and Louisiana Highway 40, Ward 2, District 6. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan calls for residential and agricultural uses in the area. The surrounding area is mainly residential homes on large parcels. Staff sees no reason to increase the density in the area and would like to recommend denial.
Okay, thank you. Anyone in the audience? Please come forward and state your name.
Antonio Rosa, I own the property, sir.
Okay,
As Mr. Martha was saying, the property, we bought it. I was born and raised up there. The property was bought so I could have my children something. They have right at 3 acres, a little better than 3 acres. I have 2 children. I'd like to at least give my children something. So I got with the parish councilman out there, Mr. Richard, and he kind of explained to me what to do. And I don't know if I'm doing the right thing or not, but I'd at least like to have my kids, you know, where they have a place to start.
okay, all right. Anything else you'd like to,
No, sir, I don't know, like I said, I am very new at this, and
not a problem.
I have where the actual land was surveyed out, where the acre is, that would like my daughter to actually put her trailer on in the back.
Okay,
It's access off of Sharps Chapel Road, not off of Highway 40. There
Okay.
are numerous trailers out there.
all right. Thank you. Let me see if there's anyone that wishes to speak against. I'm gonna close the floor to the public and bring it back to the, commission. Mr. Matthews.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, sir, I'm sorry.
Are you planning to legally subdivide this property?
No, sir, I'd like to keep it in one, under my name.
Okay,
I'd like to keep all of it. I just want her to be able to have somewhere that she can actually go buy a new home or a new trailer and put there.
okay.
Okay, and you've got another,
Yes, sir, he ain't got out of high school yet.
okay,
We got our fingers crossed on that one.
all right. Good deal. Martha?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve and a second.
Thank
Any further discussion? Dale,
Never mind.
you got a comment? Okay, please vote. Seven yea, one nay. Motion carries. Item 5, zoning case 13-04-018. Existing zoning's A1 Suburban District, proposed zoning is A2 Suburban District. It's 2.64 acres. The petitioner is Robert Flowers. Owner is Stella P. Alexander. I'm not even gonna try that name. Alexander and Donafine Donahue. Parcel located on the south side of Jakes Road, west of Louisiana Highway 450, north of Hart Road, Ward 2, District 3. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan calls for residential and agricultural uses in the area. The area has a mix of residential uses and on large parcels, and staff sees no compelling reason to increase the density in the area, recommends denial.
Thank you. Mr. Flowers?
Yes, sir.
Tell us a little bit about the reason you're wanting to.
Okay, well, I live adjacent or connect to the property that's right there. And, my family has allowed me to buy the property so I can access out of Jake Road from my residence and just have access out there. And I also have kids that's grown and maybe one day, they'll need a place to live too, and I can have a spot for them too.
Okay, thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? I'll close the floor to the public and bring it back to the commission. Mr. Willie.
Again, this is a family parcel, and it's family divided into family, and I move to approve.
We have a motion to approve. We have a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion carries, 7 yea, 1 nay. All right, item 6, zoning case 13-04-019. Existing zoning is A4 Single Family Residential. Proposed is A4 Single Family Residential with a rural overlay. It's .889 acres. The petitioner is Leslie Escovich. Owner is Leslie Escovich and Ryan and Haley Tierney. Parcel located on the north side of West Porter's River Road, west of I-59, being 39311 West Porter's River Road, Pearl River, Ward 8, District 9. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan calls for the area to be developed with residential uses. There's an existing single-family residence on the property. The owner is requesting a rural overlay to operate a kennel on the site. Staff does not have any objection to the request, considering that the rural overlay allows for single-family, accessory structure, and agricultural uses. And staff would like to recommend approval.
Thank you. Ms. Escovich? Hi, good evening to you. It seems, and staff is concurring with what you're asking for. In reviewing the agenda and staff report and everything, when I got them, and the rest of the commissioners here too, there doesn't seem to be a clearly defined definition for a kennel and a rural overlay. And I talked to your councilman about this, and I think right now it would be appropriate to postpone this until next month's meeting so that we can get something clarified on the definition of a kennel.
Can I give you some I'm kind of caught in sort of a black hole because it's a kennel. I don't breed dogs. I don't keep a ton of dogs. I'm a nonprofit Greyhound rescue group. I keep about 15, 20 dogs at times. They're in and out all the time. Animal control came out to get my license, which I didn't know. Pearl River said I didn't need it. Apparently, they didn't realize I was not in Pearl River proper. So when they came out, I met all the criteria. Well, then when they went to check where we were, then we get the phone call saying, oh, well, by the way, you're in St. Tammany Parish, so we can't do anything because you're not zoned correctly. I have a cell tower across the street from me. I've got wetlands behind me, and then one neighbor who's fixing to move, and he's probably 100 feet or 150 feet away from me. Just to give you an idea, I don't have this huge bunch of dogs out on my property, outside, they're inside, they're in the house. I have a 550-foot room that was already on the home, not building anything. From the outside, nobody ever know the difference. It's just trying to make it all in order.
And I understand. It gets down to the legal definition. And Mr. Hand, I'm going to ask you a question on this. If she's already got dogs there, if we just postpone this to next month's meeting, is there any reason why she can't continue to keep the dogs on the property?
Have they issued you any type of citation?
No. I had started the process with St. Tammany Parish Animal Control a year ago. The gentleman who was taking care of it did not complete. I had multiple emails, help me out, I'm still never heard from you, blah, 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 blah. Well, then I got sick and was sick for several months, and it kind of just went by the wayside. Next thing you know, they showed up, nice lady. She came and did my inspection, everything was fine. Like I said, then we got caught in this sort of legal whirlwind on zoning. they weren't real happy that we had to wait a whole month to come up, and they were adamant about us making sure we made it to this meeting. And I guess if postponement is what y'all suggest, they'll have to abide by it. It would really be a drag if they made
Yeah,
it.
just tell them to call me if anybody comes out there with any issues, that this is something that
call
we
them.
are having reviewed. It's Terry Hand.
Okay.
And just have her call me, and I'll be glad to tell her not to take any action, that we're reviewing the matter and that you did come to the meeting and
Okay,
complied.
I just want to make sure y'all realize that it is a nonprofit group. We're awaiting 501c3.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think most of us don't have a problem with the kennel. We have a problem with the ordinance.
In the shock, that's a shocker. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, we need,
Motion to
anyone.
postpone.
Anyone here to speak against? Okay, I'm gonna close the floor to the public and bring it back to the commission. Mr. Matthews, you have a motion to postpone until the, May meeting?
Motion to postpone till the May meeting. And the actual problem is not the definition of kennel. There is a definition of a kennel. It's the rural overlay says agricultural uses or farming. And the definition of agricultural uses in our ordinance is animal husbandry. And under farming, it says the purpose of husbandry. And there's no definition of husbandry. The dictionary says livestock, raising of livestock. Dogs aren't livestock. So it's confusing. We just need to add kennels to the rural overlay, and everything will be fine. But that's what I think we need to do. And I make that motion to postpone.
We have a motion and a second to postpone until the, May meeting. Please vote. Motion carries. Thank you. Item 7, zoning case 13-040-020, existing zonings NC4 Neighborhood and Institutional District, proposed zoning HC2 Highway Commercial District. It's .57 acres. The petitioner is Ed Gadden. The owner is Linda G. Kinney, Leonard Garino, Robert W. Kinney Jr., Amy Cappy. Parcel located on the northeast corner of Louisiana Highway 36 and Bullard Street, Ward 3, District 2. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan calls for the area to be developed with a mix of commercial uses. Staff has no objection and would like to recommend approval.
Thank you. Mr. Gadden?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Staff is indicating they have no problem with it. Going from an NC4 to an HC2 seems like a pretty good step since there's not any HC2 in the area.
Well, there's a building that, it's actually a two-story, three-story, the building on the.
Across the street, it's a two-story.
Across the street's a two-story, and and it's on 36, which is, the majority of it is the highway commercial in that particular area.
Okay.
To be able to put it into commerce, to continue what he wants to do.
What's being done in the building? I mean,
Nothing's going to be done to the building other than renovate. The purpose for the move, we actually have a small engine repair shop down the road, down 36. And we want to move so that, number one, we can buy the property instead of paying rent. But secondly, where we are now, the setup, most of the small engines, lawnmowers and that sort of thing, are in the front of the property because the office is towards the back. By moving to this location, we'll be able to have the office in the front, put the machines and everything in the back where they won't be visible from the highway.
okay.
And it's really a lot of commerce. I know it's talking about the neighborhood commercial, but there's a lot going on that this would work.
Okay. All right. All right. Is there any, Bill, you got a?
Well, it appears that there's A4A directly across the street. There's an NC1 also directly across the street. Everything around it is NC4. I know there's HC2 down the road, but it just seems pretty intense to go from NC4 up to HC2 in an area like that. I just have a problem with that.
Helen, is the reason you've got to go to the HC2 because of the lawnmower repair and stuff?
Yes, but you have several parcels of, businesses. You have a mix along Highway
It
36. You have some industrials, you have some multifamily, you have some HC2 in a enclosed vicinity. We've approved some other several requests to HC2 in the area.
What's happened with 36 is that whole corridor, highway, one block in front is some type of commercial, some heavy, some light. Most of the residential's places are approximately a block to 2 blocks behind that, the subdivisions and stuff. But we've got everything from funeral homes to, it's just a real mix
It's
that,
a
to
gumbo.
keep, this is in commerce now, that, like I said, he'd be taking one out from in front and putting it in the back, but it just fits. It's just so much commercial in that area.
Okay, Mr. Willie?
What size building is it that's on that?
It was a residence at one point.
So
It's-
how many square
It's
foot?
been vacant for a number of years.
Square footage?
It's probably 1,400 square feet.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Dale?
I have a question for staff, and Highway 36 is getting really kind of tight. There's a lot of traffic and gets jammed up at the light and stuff. Is there any studies or anything that are required, whether it's going to increase traffic on small changes in zoning like this, or?
The site in particular will not require a traffic study because of its size. I'm not aware that there's any particular studies being done on Highway 36 at this time. I can verify with our traffic engineer and get back with you.
Can I point out that we're several blocks down the road, so we just moved in
just
location,
changing.
so we're not gonna increase any traffic. We're gonna have it's gonna be the same situation. We're moving several blocks closer into town.
Helen, how big is this lot? It's a half acre.
Point
What's-
5.
Is it 20,000 square feet?
Yeah, half an acre is, yes, it's
I don't know
a
what
little
per
bit
acre.
more than 20,000 square feet,
Okay,
yes.
because it has to be at least 20,000 square feet.
Okay. Is there anyone here in the audience who wishes to speak against this? Okay, I'll bring it, close the floor to the public, and we have a motion.
Haven't made one yet.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion carries, 7 yea and 1 nay. Thank you. Item 8, zoning case 13-04-021. Existing zonings NC2, indoor retail and service district, and PBC1 planned business center. Proposed zonings A4A, single-family residential, 16.811 acres. The petitioner's Mark Malcolmus, owner Step 3 Investments LLC, parcel located at the end of Andrew Drive, east of Hollycrest Lane, Ward 3, District 5. Staff?
Mr. Chairman, would you like to hear the next case, which is related? It's the same site. They're asking for a PUD, which is ZC 13-04-022.
Okay,
I move we hear them together.
we have a motion to hear zoning case 13-04-022, which is a proposed zoning of plan unit development overlay. It's 16.811 acres. The petitioner is Mark Malcolmus. Step 3 Investment is the owner. Parcel located at the end of Andrew Drive, east of Hollycrest Lane, Ward 3, District 5. We have a motion to hear that case and the preceding one together and vote separately. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Matthews and Mr. Randolph. Please vote. Motion carries. All right.
The 2025 future land use plan designate the site to be develop as residential infill, which calls for the site to be developed with new residential use that are compatible with the surrounding. Staff has no objection to the request to rezone to A4A, considering that it meets 2025 future land use plan and the A4A designation. Also, a plan unit development overlay has been requested in order to develop the site with a new single-family residential subdivision of 76 lots, and staff would like to recommend approval for both the A4A and the PUD overlay.
Thank you. Good evening, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paul Marone on behalf of Mr. Malcolmus and Step 3 Investments. The property that's the subject of these two cases is just over 16 acres, and it's on the east side of Highway 190. It's kind of tucked between Hollycrest subdivision, the Orchard subdivision, and Kings Forest subdivision. We're actually east of and south of Hollycrest Lane, and as staff noted, we dead end with Andrews Drive at our northern border. The current zoning is NC2 and PBC1 on the track. There are commercial uses and office uses available in the NC2 zone, and also more intense office and retail uses in the PBC1 zone. Our proposal for the A4A is for the residential subdivision that you see on the site plan, which comes with the PUD overlay that you have in front of you. The A4A is less dense than the multifamily that we have, Hollycrest to our north, also Ibis Trail, which is just to our north, and it's very similar to the Orchard development, which is adjacent and contiguous to us as well. You may recall that the Orchard was approved some years ago. Very similar product to what we're proposing. It is now built out, or the last homes are going up now. I do not believe there are any lots left in that development. With that being said, we would suggest that the A4A, given that we have A4 on one side, multifamily on another side, ostensibly A4 with the PUD in the Orchard next to us as well, is very compatible with the area and fits in very well. The PUD plan before you has three types of product, three housing products there. We have parcels ranging from 60 feet, 50 feet, and 40 feet wide. The majority of our parcels are 60 by 95. The plan has 27% green space, which is about 4.5 acres. We also maintain about 58 feet of green space on our southern border with Kings Forest subdivision. We also have a large parcel of green space in the middle of the project where you will see the walking trail. I also noted, looking at the plan today and talking with Councilman Gould, that we had omitted the location of our detention pond on the project. The plat that was handed out to you has no changes other than identifying where that detention pond would be. You probably figured out where it was going to be without me noting, because that's the only place of any size to be able to do what we needed to do. But I wanted to be clear for the commission that is where we intend to have the detention pond. I would also note that with regards to detention, that the PBC1 that remains to the rear or the east of this property is also owned by Step 3. And there is additional opportunity for retention on that parcel should it become necessary. Obviously, we don't know exactly the detention needs until we get to the preliminary subdivision stage and we do all of our hydrological studies, but our engineers have looked at it. We believe that we have sufficient space and capacity within this parcel, but if not, with what we have on the other parcel, we know that we can accommodate our drainage without the need for use of any off-site drainage like the dog park and so forth that might, has capacity next door to us. On the PUD plan, you'll also see the amenities that are required. We have a walking path as shown. We have a basketball court. We're also prepared to add benches and picnic tables as staff recommended around that basketball court. And we're also in excellent proximity to the dog park that's there. For those of you who may not have gone to Andrews Drive, and unless you're going to the park or to this property, you don't go down Andrews Drive, but there's an excellent dog park there that also serves as some detention for the area. And the proximity to this property we think will be excellent and will be a draw for some of the residents that will reside here. Obviously, under the PUD requirements, we have to have central utilities, and we're prepared to do that as well. So with that being said, we would respectfully suggest that the zoning to A4A is compatible with the surrounding area, that our PUD plan is in compliance with your ordinances, and we would respectfully request your concurrence with the staff's recommendation for approval of both the underlying zoning and the PUD overlay.
Thank you, Mr. Morone. Anyone in the audience wish to speak on this? For or against, sir?
Against.
Okay.
Well, it's not really.
All right. Anyone else wish to speak for? All right. Please come forward and state your name.
My name is Almond Bennett. I'm not really speaking against it, but I did look at the plans on the thing and because it's posted in the area. And I had two concerns here, and I haven't heard anybody, and I'm sure there's more of a process here of looking at it. But my first question is there going to be a fence around this subdivision by the developer? Or is this left up to the individual lot owner?
Well,
'Cause-
we're looking right now just at the zoning part of it, okay?
Right.
And I think what you're
And that's why I'm
for
asking.
is when it gets into the next phase, which goes into the planning.
Okay, and that's what I was asking, and, there's a couple of things, but, okay, that's all I had to do. I'm learning your process.
Okay.
Thank
All
you
right.
very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? I'm gonna close the floor to the public, bring it back to the commission. Mr. Matthews.
Mr. Morone, thank you for the new plat. I think the actual showing of the detention pond was on my inquiry.
I think so.
The dog park that you talk about right behind it is also a detention area, but for the orchard. It really can't be used for anything else. And that was my concern, because I didn't see a detention pond. I was afraid you guys were planning on trying to use that too, and that wasn't going to work, but thank you. This is a really nice concept. I've gotten to know the orchard property fairly well because of the dog park. That's part of Recreation District Number 1 property, and it's called Pretty Acres, and it's a dog and jogging track or walking track. And the orchard is a really nice concept. If this is going to be that same type of thing, and I think you indicate that it will, it's the type of thing that we can really use in this parish. These are all going to be separate dwellings. They're not going to be doubles or apartments. They're all going to be individually owned, separate dwellings like the orchard.
That is correct. Very similar. No common wall, no duplexes, all single-family residences.
Okay. And I mean, there would be some questions on the planning side, but the concept of this in zoning, I think, is excellent, and I move to approve the zoning request.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve. Ms. Casabon? All right, any further discussion? Please vote. This is on the
Zoning request.
zoning request, 021. Motion carries, and we need a motion and a second on zoning case 13-04-022. That's the plan unit development over.
I move for the plan unit development.
Moved by Mr. Matthews, seconded by Mr. Richard. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Conditional use permit request, application requiring review and approval of the use by the zoning commission before issuance of a permit are as follows. Item 1 is CP 13-04-001. The use is asphalt batching plant. The zoning is currently I-4 heavy industrial. The use size is 11,250 square feet. The petitioner is TG Materials LLC. The owner is Leon Lowe and Sons Partnership. Steve DeVerney is the representative. Parcel located at the end of Highway Department Road west of US 11, Ward 8, District 9. Staff?
Petitioner is requesting a conditional use permit for an asphalt batching plant which will occupy approximately 1 acre. Mainly what was staff concerned about is the possible noise that would come from the facility. So, we suggested a reflective sound barrier that should be placed around the facility. So at this time, we'd like to recommend approval, subject to all the regulations and the conditions listed below.
Okay, thank you. Mr. DeVerney.
Mr. Chairman, my name's Steve DeVerney. I'm here this evening representing the petitioner and the owner, whose request is for conditional use permit to operate an asphalt batch plant within an I-4 zone. The subject property is just south of Pearl River. It's west of Highway 11. Access to the property is provided by taking a westerly turn from Highway 11 onto Highway Department Road. As soon as you make that turn, you'll recognize you're in an industrial area. As you travel down Highway Department Road to our property, you're going to pass 2 concrete plants. You'll pass Bow Brothers Asphalt Plant. You'll pass an automotive wrecking and salvage yard. You'll pass Leon Lowe's shop and equipment yard. You'll pass a large bulk fuel depot. You'll pass an industrial sandblasting operation. Slidell Welding, a huge industrial welding operation. And then you finally come to the end of the road, and that's our property. On the left-hand side of the property, as you can tell from that photo, is a large composting operation that's owned and operated by Leon Lowe and Sons. They accept tree debris, limbs, leaves, they chip it, they mulch it, they recycle it into garden soil. Directly across the street is the site that we originally proposed for our asphalt batch plant. There's a 200-foot buffer, but it's already there. It's heavily wooded between the site and Cherrywood. We originally suggested locating the plant at 399 feet from the closest rear property line. When we got staff's comments and the concerns about noise, although we already recognize that the parish has an ordinance about not exceeding 75 decibels, we thought the prudent thing, because we had the land available, was to move it even further south. And we would like to go ahead and make that recommendation and change our application, that we would move the plant to being no closer than 850 feet to the closest residence. And that is our application, and we're here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Verney. Anyone in the audience wish to speak on this? Staff? Do you have a comment?
I just wanted to add that, we're in favor of moving the facility 850 foot south, and we would remove condition number 3, the reflective sound barrier, because it'll be far away from the residents,
Okay,
if the commission wished to.
thank you. All right, I'm going to close the floor to the public, bring it back to the commission. Mr. Randolph.
Yes. How far right now is your site from the Cherrywood subdivision?
We're suggesting 850 feet. The original application was 399 feet. Okay. When we got the staff comments, we decided to be prudent just to make sure that we didn't impose on anybody, that we move it a full 850 feet to the southernmost end of our property. I do want to add one other item, if I may. The other thing, the primary emphasis of asphalt plants, of course, is to provide for road construction. The connector road is due to be started, the second phase, any moment now. And that connector road goes from Highway 59 to connect to the phase 1, which would take you all the way through to Highway 11. Leon Lowe and Sons was the low bidder on that project. In providing that street that's been desperately needed for so long, we want to go ahead and get it in as quick as possible. Obviously, road construction is affected by weather. The only other suggestion we would have deals with the hours that we work. Right now, in item number 2, it says the days of operation will be limited Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. There may be occasions where we have a spell of bad weather. We would like to at least have an opportunity to entertain the possibility of work on a Saturday as needed. We pass no homes to get to our site, and there's not a home within 850 feet. So there's really no one that we would interfere with. So that's our only 2 suggestions, is we've moved the property 850 feet from our closest neighbor. We'd like to, following Helen's recommendation, eliminate the fence, but we'd also like to have the opportunity to work on Saturdays as needed from 7 to 5. And that's really it.
Okay, Mr. Randolph, you have any other comments? Mr. Dale.
Yeah, I have a question. Asphalt tends to smell, have a strong odor to it, and the winds generally are out of the south, southeast and stuff, which would bring it over towards the subdivision. Does this have any kind of odor control?
Well, absolutely, you do. You have two separate emission control systems that are part of the process where you collect these emissions. We're heavily regulated by the Department of Environmental Quality as it relates to any emissions of any nature. I will say this, Bow Brothers has had a facility on the same street, a huge facility. Leon Lowe's property is, our office is right next to it. We've never had occasion to have any concerns about odor. And matter of fact, the existing plant of Bow Brothers is closer than 850 feet to the families that might reside behind us on DeRogers Street. So I'm not aware of there ever having been any noxious odors or anything of that nature. But again, it is heavily regulated. We have to have a primary and a secondary emission control for odors and any other type of byproduct, whatever you want to call it, that may come from the production of asphalt.
The only other question I have is this place going to be making asphalt for one client, or is this where you have different people who pave driveways, roads and stuff like that come and, you know, in other words, you would have more traffic maybe that way?
No, no, it's going to be strictly regulated to high-volume commercial use, and I imagine the bulk of it is going to go into this first phase, the second phase of the connector road. That's the type of projects that a facility like this makes sense to operate, where you go in, you start it, you create a large quantity of asphalt, you use it, and that's it. No, it won't be open to the public, if that's the question,
Okay.
on a limited basis.
But you'll be supplying asphalt to various subcontractors or something?
Yes,
Okay,
as needed.
not just one?
No.
Okay.
I have a question. Helen, how do we advertise this? Did we advertise it for this one parcel?
We actually don't advertise the legal description.
Okay.
And I'm glad you're bringing it up, but
Yes.
if I would have to re-advertise, I would actually re-advertise the same verbiage, because we don't advertise a legal description, and actually it's part of the same large parcel.
Parcel, okay.
So if you wish, we can re-advertise it, but since we don't advertise the legal description, I'll leave it in your hand to make the final decision.
Yeah, I don't think we would need to advertise it I wasn't here when we did conditional use permits, and that's why I asked the question. I didn't know, and since it is a part of the larger parcel, I think we're okay. It was up until we faced the litigation in Lacombe, dealing with A4, and we amended our code. Not A4, I4. And we said that if we were gonna bring such an intense use into an area, that we wanted a special hearing so that the public couldn't come back and say, we had no idea that this was coming in our area. So therefore, as you have here, you've got a piece of property that's zoned I4, but you have a very intense use coming in. So when the code was amended, it made that requirement that a conditional use hearing only on I4, it applies to nothing else in the code. That's correct.
Does it follow through like, this is the only thing at this time that he can put, I know that whatever's allowed, but if there's anything, if he ever moved this?
No,
it
this is the
doesn't
only
have
thing that he can
same
allow at that
stipulation
site.
like we used to?
Yeah, no, he
Okay.
can only.
It's just for the
It's
public hearing part.
specifically for this, that's
Okay.
correct.
All right.
All right, any further discussion? Please vote. Wait a minute.
We didn't have a motion to approve. We need a motion.
I thought you
Secretary,
did.
we didn't have no motion.
Yeah. We had that problem last time.
Are you approving the
Well, that's where I need to go.
The change in location as well?
With the
All right.
conditions.
Well,
All right.
What conditions, what conditions are we gonna put? Are we going to agree to Saturdays? Are we going to agree that he does not need a sound barrier?
I don't like the time of all-day Saturday. I think that at some point, I know that they do have jobs on Saturday that, and if they do, that type of thing, they're out early. You know, they do it as early as they can, but,
7 till noon?
yeah, something,
That sound good to
Yeah.
you?
yeah.
What about the sound barrier? He wants to eliminate
What-
that. Well, staff can and cannot. We
Well, with the
agreed to
buffer,
it.
with the 800-foot buffer, I think that they have implemented probably more of a sound barrier than actually putting up a fence, if it's that far back from,
Yeah, you got heavily
the
wooded
given,
there, but-
you know,
Okay,
thing.
so what we would be doing is approving the conditional use permit, number 2, with all of the staff recommendations, except number 2
Right.
would be Monday through Friday, 7 to 5, Saturday, 7 till noon, and deleting the reflective sound barrier.
And allowing to move the facility to
And-
further south.
Yes, obviously, that's a good one to have. Yes, move it 850 feet to the south.
Okay,
I move.
I have another comment first.
okay, we have a
I don't have a
motion
problem
to
with this,
approve.
with this noon bit. I don't have a problem with, I mean, it's on an as-needed basis to fulfill a need, just 5 o'clock, I don't see why we need to cut 4 hours off. We're gonna have it on Saturday, we're gonna have it on Saturday. I know that's a compromise, but
The reality is, as needed might be every Saturday. We don't know.
might be. I don't have a problem with that either.
And I would concur with Commissioner Richard. If you run a company, you cannot run it 4 hours. I mean, you've got, your call-outs will
I'll
force you to
strike
drive
that one.
farther than
If you
that.
guys don't like that one, I will say Monday through Saturday,
Okay.
So
Now-
moved.
except Sunday. Now, I won't give in on Sunday.
Okay.
So
Bill-
moved.
They need-
Bill, are we gonna?
Yes, so moved.
Go
Yes,
all day
Saturday.
Saturday, 7 to 5? Okay. We have a motion, do we have a second? Okay. Please vote. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Plan review cases, item 1 is PR 13-04-001. The use is a retail building, quarter is retail building, zoning is NC4, Neighborhood Institutional District. 2,041 square feet, petitioner is Rod Rodrigue. The owner is Andreas and Jennifer Anzolis. Parcel located on the west side of Louisiana 21, south of Arbor Walk Drive, north of Dummy Line Road, being 339 Highway 21, Covington, Ward 1, District 1. Staff, this, I think in your notes, I saw that you requesting to postpone this.
Yes, the main reason is, the petitioner is requesting a new retail building, and it doesn't meet the Highway 21 plan corridor requirements. We're not, we're in favor of the request as well as pretty much all the requested variances. However, we don't have a tree survey showing the species of the trees, the height, and the caliper. So we're not able to determine the type of credits we're going to be able to grant for this particular site. Of course, this is something that could be provided at a later date, but normally when we have a request for variances, we try to make sure that we have the caliper of the trees in order to determine all the variances.
Rod Rodrigue, are you in the audience?
I don't, oh. Are you the petitioner?
Yes, sir.
Hi,
Please state your name.
Yes, my name is Brian Pijon. I'm assisting Mr. Rodrigue and the owners on the property. And the particular piece of property that we're talking about is south of I-12 on Highway 21. And Ms. Lambert had indicated about the number of trees and landscape that would be on the site. This was submitted to us with respect to the type of trees and the landscape that should be there. So I could give this to Ms. Lambert. I don't know if you've seen that. Addressing that. Okay. Okay. All right.
Are you agreeing
Okay.
to do that? Is that
Yes,
what- Helen, is that what you want him to do? Or you just still need to know about the credits?
Yes,
What-
if the
okay.
commission is okay with, granting the approval without the number of credits, we will be more than happy to work with the owner. at
I
this-
know the owner wants to comply, with all the requirements as the staff recommends as far as landscaping is concerned.
Well, okay, let me see if there's anyone else in the audience that wishes to speak on this. Sandra?
Yes, sure.
Sandra Slifer, since Rick Wilkie's not here with AOA, he did send out an email. Are you going to be coming to talk with us on Thursday about this parcel? Are you coming to the AOA meeting to discuss it?
Yes, Mr. Wilkie had sent me an email, and I can basically read what Mr. Wilkie had submitted to Mr. Rodrigue and myself, Brian Pigeon. I'm not able to make the zoning meeting tonight. I would appreciate if you would, on my behalf, make my position in favor of the requested variance known to the commission. Because there has been no opportunity to have the AOA members review the proposed variances, this is my personal view. However, having worked with AOA membership for many years, I am certain they would agree with me. My opinion, the AOA works very hard to make sure that the requirements of the Highway 21 Plan Corridor overlay are adhered to. We're always concerned that the granting of a variance, particularly as it relates to a 100-foot building setback requirement, will set a precedent that results in other buildings being built close to the road. However, there are instances where strict adherences to the rules would result in tract being undevelopable. In those cases, we understand that the variances are needed and appropriate. This is one of those cases. The depth of the property is slightly more than 100 feet. There is no way to build a building behind the 100-foot setback. To do so, we would require a building less than 4 feet deep, which is too small for even a kid's playhouse. Any realistic building will encroach into the setback area, and the parking will need to intrude into a 50-foot requirement for that. I understand that the architect worked closely with Helen Lambert to develop a plan that minimizes, to the extent possible, and the variances required while allowing the parcel to be developed. I reviewed the plan, and it looks reasonable. Assuming the commission grants the variances or grants a modified version of the requested variances, please make sure that the PCO lighting, signage, and landscape requirements are to be followed. Thanks, Rick Wilkie.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Sandra, anything else?
Just confirming that the signage, meets the planned review, corridor overlay requirements, and that, again, we hope that you'll come and talk to us on Thursday so that the residents do have a chance to take a look at it and make any comments, and then if there's if the people, that are there that make up the AOA, have objections to it, we will, of course, file an appeal if, within that time frame, but just curious about signage.
Okay.
Helen, maybe? Signage?
Yeah, they will have to meet the PCO requirements.
Have you seen the sign?
No, I haven't seen the sign, no.
Okay, usually we'd like to see what the sign looks like before these things are granted, so I'm just curious about,
It's not.
it doesn't sound like we've looked at very much of what this is going to be before we're approving it, and usually we like to look at things a lot more in terms of what the signage is going to be.
They're not required to provide a plan of the sign at this time.
That's why we always like to look at things before they're approved.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak? We'll close the floor to the public, bring it back to the commission. Mr. Matthews.
There are lots of waivers. There's a lot of information that isn't here. I'm concerned about the number of parking spaces, There's a requirement that if a dumpster is going to be used, and in most businesses there are, where would the dumpster be? Parking needs to be screened from view. There's no indication that that's going to happen. Like I say, and you know, signage is a problem. I agree. I just don't think we're ready to deal with this. I don't think we have enough information right now, and I've moved to postpone.
Mr. Lawrence.
I'm gonna hold off on recognizing the motion right now, Pug.
Well, I have a comment or two. There are only 2 or 3 roads in the parish that carry the designation of a planned corridor overlay. Highway 21 is one of them. And to my best knowledge, and unless somebody can correct me, there are no retail establishments between the fork of 1077 and 21, right by Keith Young Steakhouse, all the way up to the Sterling, the Target Shopping Center. Okay, there are office buildings, and there are law offices, and all of those people have complied with the planned corridor overlay. Some of them really didn't want to do that, but they did. The McDonald's came before the commission, and they wanted to move their restaurant, expand it, move it forward into the planned corridor overlay setback. And the commission denied that. So what I'm saying is a long history of maintaining the integrity of the planned corridor overlay. And with this piece of property, if you start out with the premise that you start with 0.3 acres and you put a 2,041 square foot building of retail plus 8 parking places, if it's retail, you're going to have a dumpster of some kind. I went over there and looked at the property, and if you look at the map that we got in our packet, if you all will look at it with me for just a minute, there's an inaccuracy in this map in that if you would look at it, you would think it's all trees behind the property. Well, if you look at it, in reality, this property directly abuts to the back of Arbor Walk subdivision. And there are homes in there that are Arbor Walk is one of the most successful upscale subdivisions in the parish. And I would hate to see us take early action and these people wind up with a dumpster right across the fence from their property. I think we need to table this thing, as was mentioned, and get all of these things issued out and see if you can truly do what you want to do on 0.3 acres of land. If you can and meet the requirements, God bless you. You know, we'll do that. But there's 17 exemptions and waivers down here that have to be met. And that seems to be stretching it.
So you
Okay.
second the motion?
Any further discussion? Mr. Matthews made a motion to postpone. Pug, I'm going to say that you're seconding the motion. Please vote. Yeah. Motion carries. Thank you. That'll give you an opportunity to get with everybody and get it laid out and come back to us with the right numbers and everything.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, there's no old business, no new business. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Move to adjourn. Thank you.
Happy birthday, Dave.
Thank you, and congratulations on your